so that the direction of the picture is in the script. Everything is in the script.
I think it's a good transition to give you guys the floor. If you want to ask each other's questions about the craft of script writing, about the story themselves, about your background, about the way you learned script writing, the way you approached it. Who wants to go first? Do you have a question, and to whom that question is going? Michelle?
I have a question for Carrie, since he actually sold a script. That's the obvious next step and what we're all aiming for. It's like, I just don't even know how to reach people when you don't know somebody or don't have a name or don't have a history. I mean, there's a bazillion contests out there. You hope that they will validate you, which this does for sure. But, it's like, I'm not really just doing it for me. I would like it to go to the next step. So what do you do? I don't know.
Oddly enough, that situation, it felt a little bit like a one-trick pony in a way. I don't know. I'm still amazed being a first attempt at writing a screenplay. It did go through a few drafts, but I never went out and tested it. I just we had it, and then a friend of mine, we were going to try to put it into production. We were going to try to shoot it as like a low indie film. And we were casting for actors, and these group of actors responded. One particular actor responded. He had a sort of a group that he worked with of young actors that he wanted to audition, and so said sure. We just started trying to see if we can put it into production, but they took so strongly to the script. And they're like, we think that we can make this film. At the time, we were trying to figure out who was going to direct it. But what I did was I ended up selling the scripts, and I sold it for relatively cheap. Back in those days, I was like, really? Sure. Okay. I was writing other things. And so I just kind of let it go for a steal or a deal. It was kind of and then I thought that they were going to come out with the picture. I was like, well, I'm kind of new into this field. I was like, all right, I sold this, and they seem pretty sure they're going to make this picture for low budget. I didn't hear anything from it, but I kept going through the years and just trying to get better and better and understanding, structure better and just trying to master the craft, But so I don't really have anyway, and it was just kind of a lucky deal that happened, kind of a one-off.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep at it. We all keep at it.
Who's got a question? Who wants to go next? Beatrice?
I have a question for Karen, because Karen mentioned a couple of times writing from nervous system, and it is the first time I've ever heard that term in the process of writing. So I wanted to ask, where did that term coming from to you? And could you expand a little more? What
For sure, Beatrice. And it's funny that stood out, because honestly, the way I came to that explanation is because in moments like this, or when I've ever been asked to speak on stage about my work, I can't do it. I cannot ever say the words. I mean, I could type something up and send it to you, but if you ask me point blank, I get so lost in every character and every feeling and every moment that I can't just summarize it right now in words. So I finally said, you know what? It's because it's not coming from here. It's coming from here, and not the heart either. It's 100% I feel these people. And I love this talking about untrained writers, because I always thought that was equal parts strength and weakness, and I like everything I've heard here today, where it's you do want to learn as you go, but almost just enough to know what you can and can't, kind of what you can't do, what will take it too far off to left field, because I almost don't want my creativity to be squashed by what I'm supposed to do. right? So now I have this whole thing where it's kind of weird. Like I have to go back and all my editing ends to make sure the characters in the story are like equal. Like everyone's in there. Like, am I feeling like if I'm working on an edit and I'm feeling too much for one character, like then I have to go back and like feel it out for the other. I don't know. It's just my way of doing it. But like I said, I'm fully now admitting I'm not that intellectual. I'm not the brilliant person in the room, but I can really like get through all of this just by like, you know, really breathing and like bringing these characters to life. Nervous system forward.
But
That
yeah,
sounds really lovely. And you sounded very intellectual, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Not sophisticated then. Like I'm not gonna let that go. I swear I'm true. I'm right.
okay. Another question, Michelle.
Basically, the next thing I'm working on right now is a TV pilot, and so I'm interested in Beatrice's perspective on that. Sounds like she's got some education in that field. I'm finding it so difficult to do everything you need to do in a pilot, and just words of advice or things I should be looking at, or any that you particularly think are good. I would love to see yours actually. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you. So it's very interesting because our teacher in school taught us like the easiest to write is feature, and then the second, not including novel. So the hardest write is half an hour like sitcom, a multicam half an hour sitcom. The second is half an hour comedy, one single cam, and then the next is like hour-long drama, and then feature. And I think what it comes to is like how do you confine the big story in a small element? And I feel like for TV pilot versus a feature, you kind of have to have a really strong story engine and of course the world, and like what is the gap between the protagonist and the world, and the bigger it is, the greater like the TV show would be. So that's one of the major part, and of course the ending would very different from feature film to TV pilot, because you want to set up the ending have to be strong enough that you will be interesting to see like the whole world expanding on that. And yeah, I think that's probably the main thing. So I feel like structure wise is definitely like a lot more different. Of course, we're still gonna keep like have a turn, every now and then. And we're probably gonna have like a big turn at the midpoint, which is similar to feature. So I think the main difference for writing a TV pilot, it's really figure out what is the engine for the story and what is the world that you're kind of building compared to feature. Yeah.
You know, if I can add on that, I had been told as well with the TV pilots, you want to answer some questions and then raise new ones, like to what Beatrice was saying, right, about the ending and like to go on to the world. But I think you want, from what I have been told, you want to clear some things up, but then, you know, have more to address.
Yeah, you want to hook them up, want them to do more than a pilot, but at the same time you have to give them some answers and resolution, so they don't, because people in the industry do not have the imagination to think about what's going to happen next. So it's kind of a fair game to give some and leave some at the same time.
Yeah, it's a short script or short story, and it's 18 pages, and you use a minimalist style to write it. And I feel like if I don't know, maybe this is just me, or like the initial like jump would be like, I only have 18 pages, like I need to word vomit every single idea I have, you know, but you opted for like something very minimal. And I wanted to know like the reasoning and also like how or structure anything you have.
Yeah, it was very intentional to go minimal, because here's the idea was the main character. I didn't want him to say anything, pretty much the duration of the script, and he speaks at the end, and it's very intentional. So it was about, okay, how do I bring the viewer into the world and let the words on the page visually just unfold and carry weight. And so it was very intentional. I just went with a whole minimalistic approach. Music was also a good component. During that time, I was listening to a lot of Brian Eno, like early Brian Eno stuff, and some composers like Steve Roach and Max Richter. And so those having those soundscapes while I was writing helped me a lot, and it helped me sort of sculpt exactly what I wanted to do. It was intentional in the first draft, but the second draft was where I was really able to chisel the tone of it. The first draft was to just make sure that the structure was locked, and then the second draft was really the tone.
Sounds good. It feels like a very personal approach mixed with a structure and how to structure a script and how to go back to a draft and all of that. This is what we all do, and I'm happy to hear all the very different approaches that you guys have. Do you have one final question? Something you want to know about your fellow scriptwriters?
Myself, yes. I'll return the favor to Jasmine, and I'll ask you. So I know you do. You say you're doing storyboarding. So that to me that's very intentional in terms of not only just what's on the page, but the visual of it. Do you have any goals or intentions to get into directing your material?
Yeah, that's kind of like the next step somehow. I'm not really sure how that'll go. I think with directing, it's kind of just like, okay, you just jump in and try. I feel like that's what I've been hearing when I'm like asking that question of how one approaches directing. But yeah, I feel like with storyboarding, it's so visual and camera shots. The amount of times that I've dissected people's scripts just to figure out what specific shot would help the story, would really push whatever narrative that this specific scriptwriter is trying to intentionally, push out for an audience. That's kind of the mind that I have as a storyboard artist, where I'm like trying to find those moments and what specific shot or what specific montage or something or visual or close up would work best when seeing each other or seeing a script. So I think that was the most valuable thing that I've learned throughout my time in storyboarding, where being able to dissect a script, and now it kind of reverse engineered into this path of like, okay, now that I know how like the visual components to a script, how does one make a script? So I feel like I'm kind of like walking backwards in a sense in order to jump forwards. So that seems like and it's been showing itself to me as like a natural approach of like, okay, I'm understanding more about the process, and it feels like the puzzle pieces are kind of leading to directing ? So we'll see how it goes, but I love both, and they're all so exciting. Storytelling in general is so exciting, so I'm just also happy to learn and be here. So yeah.
Thank you. I have one more question too.
Go ahead.
Let me see. I'll give a question too. Maybe I'll come up with another. Let's see. Michelle. What is your process for writing script? How do you do it?
Wow. Like I said, this was my first try, so I'm evolving a process. I read the Save the Cat book. I took notes from it, and I formulated the story in my head. I'm like, well, what would a powerful opening scene be? And so I started with a 50-year-old woman, and I just kind of walked through, and I have a great imagination. So I just envisioned it. I do everything on my phone. So I was like taking notes on my phone, like has to happen here. This has to happen here. What's going to happen? Okay, this is what's going to happen to her. So I just had this huge, ended up being like 20-page note in my phone that I, dumped into Final Draft, and then just started, tuning it. I sent it to for feedback, which was terrible. I paid a lot of money and didn't get a lot of useful stuff. So I started entering contests and found the feedback was so much better. So I entered a few contests, got some great feedback. And this is like probably the third revision of the script from various contests. That's so far. But now I'm working on the pilot. And again, same thing. I'm trying to figure out. I read the Save the Cat book, and now I'm just wrestling with how to get everything in there. I know the story, but now it's like, how do I get it into a structure that's going to work and hook people? And then how to map out the whole season so that I can tell everything I want to tell throughout that. So I'd say I'm learning.
Yeah, definitely. Feedback is very important. Your first circle, friends, sometimes family, and then the more professional circle, people that are not necessarily your friend, are not gonna hold any constructive feedback to you because they don't owe you anything and they're not afraid of hurting your feelings. This is very important because this is what are gonna get you back to the page with a fresh set of information, like, oh, this doesn't work, that twist doesn't work, that transition was not clear to them, so maybe there's something I can do about it. So definitely, I like to say that even when you are on set directing, the script to me is always a living entity. Actors, I believe, should have the freedom to change a little bit of the lines. The cinematographer is going to give you some great ideas how to show your character in the shadows or not, or opposite. Everyone is going to have ideas about how to craft the script into something on screen. And yeah, that was my final word, but definitely I enjoyed that roundtable very much. We went way over time because it was very interesting. Thank you all for being available and sharing your process and your feeling and your nervous system and your ideas, backgrounds. That was very enjoyable. There's a chat on the right side of your app, private chat. I'm gonna stop the recording, but I'm gonna leave the chat open so each and every one of you can exchange contacts and emails if you want to, if you want to stay in touch with the people of the roundtable. And once again, thank you very much, and I hope to see you around for another roundtable, maybe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much.
So that the direction
All right,
of the
thanks.
picture is in the script. Everything is in the script.